Hi, I'm Dan. Thanks for checking in to see what's going on with the Dimgaard campaign today. Um, so this reentry uh, into the publishing realm uh, via the first Kickstarter for the sidekicks. Very happy with the results of that so far, and it looks like, at least for a while, that's going to be the strategy, is to continue working on that longer piece, um, and then have some, probably monthly supporting releases of material that we develop along the way of that. So sidekicks were the first one, and really right now we have 3 different domains of material that have been play tested, and uh, any of these 3 we could put through the final editing process and make it the next Kickstarter. So I'm going to throw up a um, a poll to decide, get some feedback. It's always nice to listen to other people. So the 3 domains are, there's another set of creatures that we could present. These fall into 2 categories. The creatures do. They're taking alignment as it's already been optional, but they're really pushing alignment to the side, and so a natural, which we did in Dimgaard. Alignment's never been a major consideration, but that then implies that you're going to have a wider set of stories where the PCs are facing antagonists who are historically good creatures, which would be like PC races from the player's handbook. And so half orcs, you can just use orcs, right? Like they're already there. But the other races do not really have a presence in those. I'm taking the same approach. I took the same approach with those as what you see with like the drow in the monster manual, right? Where I developed a base creature for dwarves, elves, gnomes, halflings, dragonborn, tieflings, and see, I'm missing one there. I think maybe not. And then I had some higher CR stuff. And for the higher CR stuff, I said, okay, what would be kind of like an iconic? Uh, like if you look at Tasha's and you look at the rune knight, you think, oh, that would be a really good dwarf, right? That uses these rune magics to kind of get bigger. Anyway, so I developed a set of higher CR stuff based upon the culture and history of the underlying creatures, as well as what looked like it aligned to me for different classes throughout the Xanathars and Tasha's and Player's Handbook, and have sprinkled those into the Dimgaard campaign over the past year and a half. And I've been very happy with those. So I could put those to the final editing and get those out there. And then also as part of this current one, there's a section where we're dealing particularly with underwater creatures, underwater humanoids in particular types. And so we developed some additional Sahagin, Merfolk, and Kuatoa built upon. The Kuatoa already, it was pretty good, and some aquatic elves, because when you look at underwater stuff, what are you going to do there? So anyway, so I can put those to the final edit, present those as the next Kickstarter. The other thing that we've done is, so as we're going through a bigger campaign, we have to consider that there may be times when the PCs need an additional exposure of some kind. So maybe there's been a TPK, and you want a more streamlined traditional episode to recover from a TPK. Or maybe you're dealing with like there are points where if you are using strict XP advancement, which a lot of people do, and we want to enable that, versus session based or story based XP advancement, you're going to end up with this misalignment, right? XP based advancement is going to be a little slower. So you kind of need to inject an extra session at certain points. So to do that, and then finally, so to do that, we have these series of like additional adventuring days, right? So they typically are iconic dungeon structures, like a dungeon raid or an escort quest or a rescue, a temple raid. The type of things that are just very iconic that you could tack on to any campaign, and it would make sense within the context of the story. So we have enough of those completed at this point to bundle those up and make a Kickstarter out of those. It would be I think we have 7 of those. They're called additional adventuring days that are play tested and ready to go, except for the final editing. We could get that out pretty quickly. Then we have bundles of Dimgaard magic items, right? So what Dimgaard, as part of the Dimgaard philosophy, almost always to create a permanent magic item, there's going to be a sacrifice of a sentient creature involved. And usually then what we do, almost always, what we do in that instance is we look at that sacrificed creature, and that's going to yield some additional minor traits onto that magic item. So, for example, to create a brooch of shielding, the sacrificed creature is likely going to be a creature that could cast shield, right? So you look at the creatures that could cast shield, and you say, oh, okay, well, if it was an elf, then we're going to, that as long as you're wearing the brooch of shielding, you're proficient in the Elvish language. And maybe that creature that casts shield could also cast prestidigitation, and that's going to be attached to the brooch of shield. And so usually there will be 2 to 4 of these additional minor traits that are attached to the magic items. And so that does a couple of things, right? It makes the magic item unique and interesting. It also is a very important part of the flavor of Dimgaard. So within Dimgaard, you set up these moral dilemmas where PCs find these magic items and then they're like, okay, I'm basically exploiting this soul that is trapped in this magic item and cannot proceed to its afterlife as long as the magic item exists. And so very often at some point in a campaign, players will destroy a magic item or 2 to free up those spirits. It's not unusual for players to invest a certain amount of personality into their magic items and get attached to them and have some affection for them. So in addition to being unique, it really does add a particular flavor and character to that magic item. And then also we're very conservative on magic items, right? Like we don't overly magic our campaign. Like we very dramatically avoid magic heavy weapons and magic ranged weapons, because you start coupling those with certain feats, and you end up with PCs that really sort of blow out the damage and the hit curves, get beyond the expected bounded accuracy that you're shooting for. And so this is a way of taking magic items that were pretty comfortable as far as this isn't going to destroy the balance of the campaign, that but are typically kind of underwhelming, like say a moon touch short sword or a staff of flowers, right? Which is still a magical staff, so you can use it as a magical staff, but your players are going the players are going to be a little underwhelmed by finding typically one of these lesser magic items than they are, you know, uh, one of those destabilizing magic items that we tend to avoid. But this allows us to tack on some additional flavor and utility to those minor magic items, and as a result, the players are much more accepting of this suite of magic items within the campaign. Okay, so those would be the three. A suite of additional magic items, enhanced magic items, Dimgaard magic items. I don't know what we call it, but they are magic items with these additions that are specialized. Then we've got another set of new monsters, and we've got a set of one-off adventures, right? Not attached to a continuing story that can be dropped into. Each one of the one-off adventures is designed along the lines of a one-page dungeon. Right? Like they have a map on one side, and then the entire context of the dungeon on the other. So anyway, so those are the three. Vote for the one that you think you would most like to see in June. Probably be when we get that out. And thank you for your time and feedback. And by the way, as far as feedback goes, feel free to message me or on any of the channels that I'm on, Discord, email, Instagram, Facebook. I'm always anxious to hear from people who are using Dimgaard and have feedback for